What's going on, everybody? This is Steve from Bloom Audio. Today we're going to talk about PD10, the new DAP streamer hybrid from Astell&Kern. I've been saying for a while that you can get most of the functionality that you get from a streamer out of your average Android-based DAP. It's just going to be, a little clunkier and not look quite as nice as having a nice, well-built streamer unit in your setup. Astell&Kern seems to have figured that out, and they've released PD10, which is basically a standard DAP with a cradle that lets that easily connect to your desktop or two-channel hi-fi system. So we're going to take a closer look at PD10 and ask, what is it? Who is it for? And should you buy it? So what is PD10? Like I was saying, it's a combo DAP streamer that's designed to be as comfortable in your pocket as it is on your desk with your speakers or in your living room. Looking at the player itself, Astell&Kern has abandoned some of the angular design, some of the triangles and other things you typically see in their DAPs, replacing it with a pretty much straight up square unit here. It's even noticeable with the buttons, where each of the buttons is just kind of like a perfect square. And they removed the volume wheel in favor of volume up-down buttons. That seems to be a mixed choice. Some people like it, some people want that volume wheel back. I'm kind of in between on that. Probably the biggest win here, though, from a physical interface perspective, is they've added a hold button to the side. A little switch so that you can lock the physical controls when you put it in your pocket to avoid accidentally skipping tracks or messing with the volume, which is a problem on a lot of digital audio players. In fact, a lot of us in the office just disable the physical controls. Even though they're convenient to use, it's more inconvenient to accidentally pause tracks or blow your eardrums out when you stick it in your pocket and roll the volume wheel up to 50. So when you get the box for PD10, inside you're gonna find two boxes. One has the player, charge cable, and a case along with screen protectors and all of that. And then the other box is gonna have the dock with the cable for that. Now the dock provides you with the ability to charge, audio output via USB-C, or to have analog output via XLR. So you use the USB-C to connect to another DAC and use it as a streamer only, and the XLR to connect directly to an external amp using the DAC inside of the PD10. As a side note, one minor design flaw is that the player doesn't fit in the dock with the case on. So if you want to use the case when you're using the unit as a DAP and you want to also use the dock, you're going to have to remove the player from the case before you put it on the dock. In terms of the technical specs, internally for the DAC, PD10 is using a dual AKM 4191 EQ as the modulator with a 4X AKM 4498 EX set up as the DAC with dual channel DACs for each of the stereo channels. When using it as a DAP, you get 3.5 millimeter unbalanced and 4.4 millimeter balanced output. And your max output is 8.3 VRMS using balanced output, which puts it a little bit ahead of the current crop of Astell&Kern players, excluding the Con Ultra, of course. Screen is a 6-inch HD 1080p touchscreen. There's 256 gigs of internal storage, and the micro SD card supports up to 1.5 terabytes. Astell&Kern says the battery will give you up to 15 hours of playback time. PD10 is using the same Crimson UI as other recent Astell&Kern players. For me, I still kind of think of it as the new version, but it's been out for several years now. We've all gotten pretty used to it. It's faster, snappier than past players. This one feels like a step above players like the SE300 and even a step above the original SP3000. So they've made some performance improvements. Now, while you don't get access to a full Android system like many FiiO and iBasso players. You do get the ability to install apps from a selection there. The apps include, Spotify, Tidal, Qobuz, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Deezer, a couple others. So you should have the options that you need on there, and it supports the ability to use the connect features from those apps to control, Spotify from the Spotify app on your phone and have that playback on your PD10 player. One cool new feature on here is that PD10 is the first Astell&Kern DAP to support AirPlay. So you can use AirPlay on your iPhone or iPad to connect directly to the PD10 from pretty much any app. So, video, audio, whatever else, you can connect to that if that app lacks a feature to directly connect to the player. If you're using PD10 as a streamer, you can think of three main use cases here. One is going to be using it with Roon. PD10 is Roon ready. You can activate the Roon feature, set it up with your Roon system, and you're good to go just like you would with any other Roon endpoint. Second way is going to be with those streaming apps. You're using Qobuz, you've got the app on your phone, you've got your PD10, you're going to use AirPlay to connect or Spotify Connect to play back onto the PD10 into your system. The third option is if you have an SD card or you've loaded up the PD10 with music on the device itself, you can use Astell&Kern's AK Connect app, basically a DLNA app. You can install that on your phone, tablet, whatever it is, and use that to select the library of music you're using and the playback device. In the simplest case, you've got your music on the PD10, you've got the app on your phone, and you select the PD10 as your library and as your playback device. It's plugged into the dock, which is plugged into your speakers, and you can easily browse files in the app and play back just like that. One problem here is that the app does not seem to work consistently, specifically on iPhones. Android phones, it works fine. Even on iPads, it seems to work fine. But specifically iPhones, newer generation ones at the very least that we were able to test on, the app was a little bit inconsistent. So that might be one kind of monkey wrench in your plans. Now, I was able to do a little workaround using the VLC player and AirPlay. The VLC player was able to access that DLNA library through AK Connect, and then I was able to output from VLC player to AirPlay to play back through the PD10 and use it as a streamer that way. Just seemed a little bit more roundabout than it needed to be. When using an Android device, I could very easily connect the library and output right there, all using the same app and the system. Another cool feature they've added is Smart Amp Mode. Smart Amp Mode will detect what you've plugged into it, the impedance. Basically 32 ohms is the cutoff. If it's 32 ohms or less, you get normal amp mode. If it's higher than 32 ohms, you get high gain mode. And that's pretty much it. Just saves you from switching modes when you switch from your IEMs to your over-ear headphones typically. It's my understanding that some of Astell&Kern's previous players were doing this under the hood without making it visible to the user. Now they've just made that visible and given you the option if for whatever reason you want to use high gain on your low impedance IEMs or low gain on your high impedance headphones. You've got that option available to you now. So we've got a somewhat unique design of the player that plugs into the dock to become a streamer and a really solid feature set. So who exactly is this for? So in terms of who's going to want to use this, I think there are two key aspects that make PD10 stand out for some potential users. One is that you find yourself frequently switching between your portable and desktop listening setups. So if you're a 100% IEM guy, always listening to IEMs on your DAP, it's not for you. If you're an IEM guy on the road and you're an open back headphone guy at home, that's more who this is targeted for. And I think the other piece of that is you're looking for sort of elegance, simple solution over a complicated one. You can probably get a solution of similar quality for a much lower price if you don't mind that solution being a little bit inelegant. So basically picture this, right? You get up in the morning, pull your player off of the charging cradle, plug in your IEMs, go for a run, do a workout, bring it back in, plug it in, listen to some music on your speakers while you're eating breakfast and all of that. Grab it again, listen to music with your IEMs on your commute while you're going to work. Then you come back home, plug it into the dock cradle again, listen to music on the speakers again, and do it all again tomorrow. That's the sort of thing that PD10 was designed, that the designers were envisioning that you would use it for. If that is you, if that's how you like to listen to music, then this might be the perfect device for you. Now, of course, there are a couple caveats. As a player, PD10 is not the slimmest, smoothest, most sleek one that I've encountered. It is boxy, hard edges, and all of that. If you're moving from something like the Astell&Kern's previous SP3000M, or even something like the SR35, those are way more pocketable than PD10 is. And then there's also that element of having the right combination of hardware and software that's gonna make it work. Like if you have an iPhone and you're planning on using this with your library of pre-existing downloaded music, on your SD card, that ends up kind of losing some of the elegance with the bugs in the AK Connect software right now. It's possible a future firmware update will resolve that, but as it stands at launch, it's just not quite working up to the standards of, again, if you're looking for a simple, elegant solution that just works between your iPhone and your Astell&Kern player. That's not it right now. Now, if you're using Qobuz, Tidal, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever that is for your music playback, that's gonna work a lot better, and that will have that sense of an elegant, seamless, very convenient solution for your music playback. And of course, the player itself sounds great. It sounds great as a player. Kind of reminds me, actually, there's a slight step back towards the SP2000 in terms of the sound signature. Feels slightly warmer than the SP3000. Maybe not quite as spacious, kind of in between. I think it's more spacious sounding, clearer imaging than the SP2000. Not quite as much of a wow factor as the SP3000 in that stereo image. But again, a little bit of that warmth that I think about when I think of the character of Astell&Kern's sound that the SP2000 or the SA700 had. Using it as a DAC with an amp, whether in your 2-channel system, powered speakers, however you've got that set up, this also sounds great. I find sometimes when you use an adapter or whatever it is to plug the line out on your player directly into an amp, it sounds thin. There's something missing. That output is optimized for direct connection to headphones, not for output to an amplifier. And here you get that sense that this is actually optimized for an external amplifier, and it has a little bit more oomph to the sound. It doesn't have that sometimes thin feeling I've gotten in the past with DAPs. So taking all that into account, should you buy a PD10? Now, if you're looking at this setup, you may be looking at PD10 primarily as a digital audio player and saying, okay, the dock thing's cool, but I'm probably just gonna use the player. Or again, you might be thinking of it as that full streamer type setup. In terms of a DAP, comparison here might be the Astell&Kern SP3000M, or if you're going a little cheaper, maybe the Ibasso DX340. If you're looking for a high-end DAP and you just want the best digital audio player out there at this price point, SP3000M is probably a better pick. I think the sound is slightly more technical, stronger imaging. It is a little bit more of that clean reference sound. It doesn't have that touch of warmth, which again is kind of up to preference. SP3000M is smaller, more pocketable, and just a generally smoother experience as a digital audio player. So I think if you don't want that hybrid experience, honestly, get the SP3000M, not the PD10 right now. And honestly, the Ibasso DX340 would be another solid choice here. And what the DX340 gives you, where I don't think the sound quality is quite at the same level, just a little bit below the PD10 or the SP3000M. Like the sound stage and the imaging, it's a little more diffuse. It doesn't feel quite as vivid in that presentation there. But the DX340 gives you those customization options with the amp cards. And it also gives you the ability to get a little bit of extra juice by plugging it into the power adapter that they provide. So it's almost like another solution. PD10, if you've got a head-fi setup at home with a Susvara or something like that, and an amp, PD10 will be good for that. But maybe, you've got the LCD5 and you find out that DX340 is actually pretty capable of driving that really well with that power adapter. Maybe that's the better solution for you there. Not as elegant, maybe not as cool looking, but that's another option. And where the PD10 really shines though, is if you're looking at adding both a streaming solution and a portable digital audio player solution. So, while the DX340 is gonna be significantly cheaper, if you want a more refined way of hooking your music up to a larger system, you might be looking at getting the DX340 for portable, and then a Eversolo DMP A6 for your desktop solution or your 2-channel solution. And so now you're buying 2 separate units. One of those is pretty large, and it is suddenly feeling a little bit inelegant next to the PD10 option. And that's where PD10 is really strong. If you're not using the Eversolo streamer or other comparable streamer to, put a solid state drive in there with a petabyte of all of your high-res music, the complete discography of every band you've ever listened to. If you don't want to do that, you're okay with 1.5 terabyte SD card for all your music. PD10 is going to do a great job with all those streaming functions and be a really simple way to just take it with you rather than having multiple devices. Is it ultimately as powerful as the combination of an SP3000M or a DX340 and a dedicated streamer? No, it's not. Is it going to be a simpler, smoother, more elegant solution? Absolutely. So the bottom line, just on its own, PD10 is a great digital audio player. I think ultimately it's a little bit expensive for what you get if you're only buying this as a digital audio player, and you might be better off with the SP3000M in that case. But if you're looking for this complete, streamlined, hybrid experience using one device as the centerpiece for your entire hi-fi experience, whether portable on the go or at home in your living room, PD10 is gonna do an amazing job of sort of bringing that all together with that simplicity. And if that's what you're looking for, it's gonna be hard to beat PD10. Thanks for watching. You can check out the Astell&Kern PD10 and a lot of other great products at bloomaudio.com. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll be back soon with more high fidelity audio content.